Welcome to the Center for Applied Research on Targeted Violence. Our guest today is Kate Lukaszewicz. She's the Education Programs Director for Classroom Without Borders. Kate has brought 20 years of education experience to the organization, and she is an expert in instructional and assessment design, teacher professional development, and facilitating civil discourse in classrooms. Kate, welcome, and thank you for being here today.
I'm so glad to be here with you, Susan.
Yes. Kate, it's been a pleasure getting to know you since last year. It's been a pleasure collaborating with the Classroom Without Borders organization and our center's mission to counter anti-Semitism and targeted violence. We got to know each other even better on this incredible trip to Poland last July. And I just want to tell you, I really admire all the work that you are all doing as an organization and what you're doing as an individual. Before we dive into the program and the trip, I'd love to learn more about Classroom Without Borders and share with our audience, please, your mission and vision.
Well, thank you for those kind words about Classrooms Without Borders and my own work. You were one of the first professional relationships I forged when I started at Classrooms, and I remain grateful for you getting me set off on the right foot. So Classrooms Without Borders is a Pittsburgh-based nonprofit that works to empower teachers and students to fight hate in all its forms, including anti-Semitism, racism, xenophobia, etc. So it's been around since 2011, and we work to empower teachers through experiential travel seminars like the seminar to Poland. We also do seminars in Israel when we can, a bus tour of the American South, and some other countries that we rotate through every couple of summers. We provide a lot of teacher professional learning through scholars that we bring into classrooms who also do student-facing program. We've had traveling exhibits move around Allegheny County. Last fall, we had one on the Kindertransport about rescuing Jewish children from the Third Reich, and we used that as a way to talk about displaced children in 2024 and 2025. We also have really robust online Zoom programming, which is meant to reach a wider community. And last year, people Zoomed in from 78 different countries.
That's pretty amazing.
Yes. It is. It's a wide reach, and I think it speaks to the consistent quality of the programming and Classrooms Without Borders' commitment to delivering content that is timely and relevant.
Yes. I was also really interested to see last year when I went on this trip, the relationship that Carnegie Mellon University has with Classroom Without Borders. And that relationship is due in part to one of Carnegie Mellon's trustees, very generous trustees. Tell us a little bit about that. I think that has been really interesting to learn about over the years.
We are so grateful that we can do the work we do at Classrooms because of really generous people like Ms. Patty Kenner. So Patty grew up in New York. She is Jewish herself, but she studied at Carnegie Mellon as an undergrad. And she remains committed to fighting anti-Semitism in as many ways as she can. So she serves on the board of the Museum of Jewish History in New York. She sponsors projects. She spends probably 12 hours a day, I'm not kidding, engaged in some kind of philanthropy to combat anti-Semitism. She's got a deep commitment to Carnegie Mellon because it's where she got her own education. So she has sponsored since 2017, faculty and students every year to join us on our Poland Personally seminar. So accounting for the years where we didn't travel because of COVID, it's approaching 35 faculty and students who have joined us. What I think is so terrific about that is it has built critical mass for the number of faculty here who have had this experience, and it has helped us to develop a really enriching, robust relationship with Carnegie Mellon.
Yeah, I agree with that. We do have faculty who've been on the trip and students. I have met faculty who continue to talk about that trip. And as someone who's been on that trip myself with other educators from Carnegie Mellon, it's great to see how we continue, even some folks who've been on that trip a while ago, how we can continue to still educate about elements of this trip. So we'll talk about that in a moment, though. But thank you for sharing that history between CMU and Patty Kenner and Classroom Without Borders. Let's focus in on the Personally Poland trip because this was the trip of a lifetime, I have to say. It's one of the most comprehensive educational trips I've ever been on. And I have to say, it really exceeded any expectation that I had because I think I went into this trip thinking that it was really going to be a history lesson, that it was going to be a history lesson about the Holocaust and about Jewish history in Poland. And I walked away from that 10-day trip with so much more because you had, or the organization had, included so many other elements that really made it relevant for today. And so I'd love to talk to you about that. And I'd love to also, I think before we get into sort of the content of that trip too, tell us about the participants of that particular trip and what its purpose is and what's been the impact.
So, Dr. Zaporiger is our founder and executive director. When she started Classrooms in 2011, knowing that Poland would be a key element of her mission for the organization. However, she's been taking educators to Poland for nearly 30 years. So she had thought that teachers would really be able to more effectively teach about the Holocaust if they could go to Poland and understand what had been lost through the Holocaust and to see the sites where this loss happened. So most of the participants who travel with us are middle school and high school educators. We also take some university faculty, as you've mentioned, a couple of university students, and we also get to travel with a handful of high school students every year. So we end up with this really, variety of learners on this trip who self-select to be there, who want to be there, and are ready to do the demanding emotional and intellectual work of getting the most out of their experience in Poland. We have seen that the teachers who travel with us become the kinds of upstanders that we all hope that we will be. And I can point to two specific examples. My introduction to Classrooms was also this Poland seminar in 2016. And I remember so clearly on October 26th, 2018, being in the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum with my own 8th grade students, standing in front of a model of Auschwitz and them asking me, how did it work? And I knew all too painfully how it worked to gas people at Auschwitz because Classrooms Without Borders had taken me there and walked me through it. And then we returned to Pittsburgh that night, and the next morning, our neighbors had been murdered in their synagogue. And when I went back to my classroom on October 29th, 2016, I knew exactly what I needed to say to my students to help them to begin to make sense of this because Classrooms Without Borders had prepared me. And I wasn't the only educator who was in that position to be helpful to students after the synagogue shootings of 2018. We saw it again after October 7th, 2023. By that Sunday, we were getting calls, emails, and text messages from the hundreds of teachers who have traveled with us asking what they could do to help us and letting us know what they thought they needed so we could respond to their needs.
That's fantastic.
We're fortunate to be in a position to do this work. We're living in a moment for which Classrooms Without Borders was created.
For sure. For sure. And you've brought that up in terms of how important Classroom Without Borders really helps inform those who participate in the program to make sense of what is going on today. What I found so compelling about the trip last summer were some of the special guest speakers that were invited. There was one of the last Holocaust survivors, Howard Chandler, and there were also I was really so moved by their participation in the trip. so soon after October 7th, but the two leaders of the kibbutz in Gaza that was attacked on October 7th, husband and wife team, and then also some Israelis who had visited Poland to help the Ukrainians, the Ukrainian immigrants or refugees during the war there. So tell us a little bit about that, because I think that just put the trip into such an interesting context and brought it home. And yeah, please.
We're so fortunate, first of all, to travel with Mr. Howard Chandler. That he chooses to continue every summer is a blessing to everybody who gets to meet him.
I forget to say he's 95 years old.
He's 96 years old.
96
and
now.
he's joining us this
Yes.
summer.
Oh my goodness.
I know. And you've met him. He's in very good physical health. He is sharp as a tack. And I find his story to be so valuable because he is like an eyewitness guide, I think, not just survivor testimony. He knows the history of the Holocaust in Auschwitz, Birkenau, Treblinka, and in his hometown better than anybody. So it is such a blessing to hear from him while he remains so generous, kind, and optimistic to everybody he encounters. I think that it is so important to hear from people like Howard because he tells this story of how he saw Jewish rights being stripped away as he experienced it as a child and saw it manifest within his own family. And I think it is a reminder to be vigilant about what social antecedents to keep an eye on when we need to look out for our own neighbors. And one of the things that Classrooms does so well is to be nimble enough to respond to the events of the world. So shortly after Russia had invaded Ukraine, Tzipi arranged for Poles and for Israelis who have moved to Poland who had been supporting Ukrainian refugees to meet with our educators to tell us about that work was like. And it's important for the educators to hear that story of Poland as it is working in 2022 and 2023, because so much of the story that we tell otherwise is about resentment towards people who were identified as not Catholic Poles. And Tzipi felt very strongly, and she was right, that we should bring survivors from the October 7th. So Zohar and Asaf joined us. Asaf was the manager of the kibbutz near Gaza, and it was his responsibility after the massacre was over to account for the dead and the damage to the kibbutz. And when there is so much misinformation and disinformation available, the eyewitness expert testimony, which was delivered absolutely without any political overtones or undertones, is so important to understand the necessity of safety and security for Jewish people.
Kate, Poland personally was such a meaningful program last year, and I know on that trip I met many individuals who've been on other programs. Tell us what's in store for Classroom Without Borders for the future.
So in summer of 2026, we will offer Poland personally again, and we also offer a bus tour of the American South to study the civil rights movement. It's really a dynamic opportunity to learn about the country in which we live and work. And I've done this seminar 3 times myself, and I find that the Alabama I visited in 2022 didn't look like the Alabama or feel like the Alabama I went to in 2024, by which I mean, like, I'm growing this fondness for Alabama, and I kind of can't wait to get back every year to see the sites and to meet the community members that we spend time with every summer. It's so vital to do this seminar because of what it tells us about the progress we've made as a nation towards fulfilling the promises of the Declaration, of the Constitution, and our founding documents, and what we have yet to achieve together.
Terrific. So that's coming up this summer.
We'll do it in 25 and 26.
Great. And what else is going on with Classroom Without Borders. I hear we have a new expert coming into Pittsburgh.
We do. We are so thrilled that our scholar in residence, Avi Ben-Hur, who is our lead scholar for Poland personally, is going to relocate to Pittsburgh for a 2-year residency. He shows up August 1st, and his schedule is already getting to be really full with back-to-school events. So Avi will be available to communities for anti-Semitism education. He's going to do community learning for lay people. There will be teacher professional learning that we will design and develop, he'll deliver, and also some student-facing programming for university students and high school students.
Fantastic. And that's a great age for students to learn about anti-Semitism and the history of it. So that's fantastic news about Avi Ben-Hur. Let's also chat about what are some of the ways in which folks who are interested in going on the trips that you've mentioned or even getting involved with the organization. Can you tell us a little bit about that
Thanks.
process?
Yeah, thank you for asking. Thank you for letting us make a plug. So anybody who wants to learn about what we do at Classrooms Without Borders should visit our website, www.cwbpgh.org, or email seminars@cwbpgh.org. That will get you the information that you need to find out about the summer travel opportunities. And you are also welcome to email me, Kate Lukaszewicz, at kate@cwbpgh.org.
Terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time here with us, and good luck on the future plans for Classroom Without Borders.
Thank you, Susan, and we're sure that we'll partner together.